Hi, Abby. I just wanted to hop on here and go over some options for revisions for your poems this week. You did a great job again this week. I loved your new poem. So let's get into it. As always, I did leave some comments on the Google Docs version. And I also did add right down here, we're going to talk about this in a little bit, but this is a way to cut out cutting to the bone of your poem. And so that looks like taking out maybe some extra words like them or of, well, not them, of, or with, or the, those kind of words that you might need those words for prose, but with poems, sometimes if you take those out, it gives extra power to your words like darkness and endlessly and millions and frigid vacuum. And so we're going to look at that a little more, but I did leave those comments on there. And then also for the new poem that you wrote, once it updates, there we go. I also added some comments here on the side as well. And so if you wanted to look through those, that would be awesome. And I will post this screencast in the comments once I finish it. So let's get started with our slideshow. All right, so I wanted to start by reading you just part of a poem by Maya Angelou. And it says, "You may write me down in history with your bitter, twisted lies. You may trod me in the very dirt, but still like dust I'll rise. Just like the moons and like suns, with the certainty of tides, just like hope springing high, still I'll rise." And so I wanted to talk about this poem. I have a poster of this poem in my room, in my classroom at school. And for this week, I wanted to look at how we can put our poems into a kind of digital format that helps, just like we looked at Adobe Spark before, that kind of helps to add something to the poem. And so this, I know it's not a really clear picture, but this is the best one I could find on the internet. This is what my poster in my room looks like at school. And so she's talking about still I will rise up. And it kind of shows this tree with the wind and the bird and the leaves kind of rising up. And so that adds something to the poem, and it kind of depicts it in a picture, what the poem is talking about. And so I wanted to look at that a little bit this week and show you some of the cool things that Adobe Spark can do in a way that's different than the informational writing. So before we get started on that, you did fill out this Adobe Spark questionnaire. Sorry. And I wanted to just look at, you said it helps you express your words in ways you've never been able to before, that it was very effective, and that the pictures help to draw on the focus of your pieces. And those are all great observations that you've made about Adobe Spark. And with your informational writing, it might be adding to what you're talking about. It's going to be the same kind of thing with your poetry, but your pictures might just be a little different. And kind of the style of the pictures might be a little different. And so I had never considered it for poetry either, but this writing workshop we had talked about it, and I think that it's an awesome way to depict poetry in kind of a new way that's not your standard white paper with black ink. It kind of gives it a little something new. And so now that we've taken a look at that, here is a poem that I wrote a couple weeks ago, and I put it on Adobe Spark this week. And so it's called Abandoned. I once was filled with joy and laughter. I now sit alone, nothing coming after. Children ran through my halls. Now water is rotting through my walls. Like a pair of shoes that no longer fit, my lanterns will never again be lit. Forgotten, a memory from the past, wondering what day will be my last. I wish for the day when someone returns, before I come crashing down and burn. Repaint my sides with that beautiful hue, restore me up with furniture brand new, and look upon me with love again, or leave me to be abandoned. And so I chose, one of those writing prompts was about kind of picking an object and writing about it. and I happened to be driving and I saw an abandoned house. And it kind of started filling my brain with these thoughts about this abandoned house. And so when I chose to put it on Adobe Spark, I looked through tons and tons and tons of pictures of abandoned houses. And this one really caught my eye because it looks like it once was a beautiful house, but now it's covered in the floors with a bunch of debris, and there's dirt on the walls and things are cracking. And so I made this kind of poem, and I picked this picture to represent this kind of house's perspective, that this is their last chance really before it completely falls apart. And I wanted to look at this a little bit more if you chose to do something with Adobe Spark for your poem. So once it loads, I'm going to kind of take you through what it looks like on Adobe Spark and how you can change some of those features. Sorry about this. I'll start talking about it anyways. So in the background, that kind of like older house that I had picked, when I first picked the picture, it was very dark. And so what I did to work on that is once you add the image, you can go, there's some options here. So I clicked on the image, and then right here is the transparency. And so I started making the background more transparent so that my words would still come through, because it was hard to find a font color with that other color of the background. So if you see when I make it back, that's what it looked like when I first added it. And then you can play around with that to make sure that you can read your words, but you don't lose the picture. And then there's also some other options down here you can kind of play around with if you wanted to. But I wanted to show you also some of the options for your words and if you wanted to do this. So the first little square is your text color. They show some options that kind of go along with maybe like the picture that you picked. And so I thought that was interesting. Every time I picked a new picture, a different kind of palette would show up. And if you don't like those ones, you can also change it yourself. Or if there's a color that you liked from your picture, you can click on this little like pipette thing. Click it, it will give you this circle, and you can kind of choose. Since I have it transparent, it just comes up kind of like that. But you can highlight any of the colors on this that you would like your font to be the same color of. And so that is a good option. Oh, let me unclick it. And then there's also for if you wanted to add like a box in the back, you can do that with this. And I wanted to show you, if you click here, and then you come to shape, there's all these different options you can use. So I picked this one that has, like, it kind of will make my my title kind of big, and then it keeps it in this nice rectangle. But there's all kinds of different options you can choose from. There's ways to make it look like it's on social media, in a bubble, just put a cute circle background around it. And so there's all these different ways that you can kind of play with your piece that I'll show you some. So that's how you could put the color behind it if you didn't want to make your background transparent. You can make it like a circle, and you could obviously work with that to change it up some. But you can add all these cool different features to it to make it exactly how you would like your piece to look. And so those are just some options. I also wanted to show you in the beginning you can pick a certain way that you would like it laid out. And so with the informational piece, we kind of picked that one that looked like a presentation. But for this one, you can pick so many different options, like an Instagram or a Facebook post or a YouTube video. And you can pick from any of these other sizes as well. And I think that these work really well for poems. So there's my piece. There's some of the stuff that I did with it. And that, again, is an option for you this week. I wanted to show you what I did for revising my poem this week. I had come up with a poem. I am an ENL teacher, so I teach students who come from another country. I basically teach them English. And so I love my job, and I wanted to write a poem about it because it's something that I'm passionate about. And so when I was revising my poem, I really looked at this list. What would happen if you? And remember, revising a poem is like experimenting. It's not permanent. You can always go back and go back to your first way. I found that in a digital format, I like to just make a copy of my first one, and then I can make as many changes as I want, and it doesn't get rid of my first one. So, since I did decide to do this digitally, I took my notes on a separate sheet of paper. And these were the things that I ended up trying. I changed my title. I added in someone who was revising or giving me feedback on my poem said that they were just a little bit confused. My poem was a little too abstract. They needed a couple more like solid things just to know exactly what I was talking about. And so with that, I added the words in becoming bilingual. And I loved that so much, I ended up changing my title to that phrase that kind of has that alliteration and is really the focus of my poem. I worked on changing some capitalization around and some word choice. I had kept saying don't know, and instead I used like underestimating yourself and that kind of thing. I changed my rhyme scheme, my stanza structure, and I did change the focus a little bit to being a teacher-student relationship to really trying to just focus on the student. And so those are just some of the things that I chose to do. But if you see at the top, what I was always trying to keep in mind is that poems want to have powerful ideas in as few words as possible. And so here's my first poem. It says, "You say, 'I don't know, miss, I don't know.' But you do. You just don't know how to say it for me. You are not the problem, that's in the way we see. You are learning two while I am stuck in one. So do not think that you don't know. When it is you who knows double, who works double, who faces double, who understands double. When it is me who has faced less struggle in my double of years. So please do not say to me that you do not know, because I know the power that lies within you." And so it was really hard for me because I really was proud of this, and it talks about something personal to me, and it was hard to revise that because I felt like it was really good. But it was nice to be able to take some feedback and also just look at those questions and kind of figure out, well, what happens if I change this? I made a lot of changes that I didn't like, and I went back to the old way. And that's okay. And so here's my new poem, Becoming Bilingual. You say, 'I don't know, miss, I don't know,' but you do. You just don't know how to say it for me. You are not the problem, that's in the way we see." And now here is where a lot of the changes start to come up. While most are stuck with one, you are learning two, becoming bilingual, underestimating the power within you. It is you who knows double, who thinks double, who understands double. So please do not say to me that you do not know. And so if you see there, what I really tried to do was take out some of those extra things. And that's a really great thing for poetry because when we take out those extra filler words, it emphasizes our stronger words. And poetry does not need all of those grammatically correct phrases like regular prose does. And so that's another option when you're looking at revising your poem. I am going to share this Google Slides with you so that you can easily again find this, and I will also link it in the comment section. So keep up the awesome work. Your poems are amazing and you're doing such a great job with the writing workshop. After this week of revisions, this is our very last week, and so it's been so awesome to work with you, and I will see what you have next week. Bye.